It's an honor to be here tonight. We'll try to make it quick. I'll condense my thoughts because we're running a little bit late, but truly impressed hearing all the great universities you guys are going to. Top 20 in your class is elite. I couldn't have finished top 20 in my class. There were 387 kids in my class, and if 367 of them would have quit before graduation, I still wouldn't have finished in the top 20. So you guys are really doing well, and I'm really proud of you as Lions and as the community of Springfield. But my boss always said, because I'm in sports television, you have to start a presentation or a speech with video, or you have to give out gifts. Well, this is our video projection screen, so I'm going to give out gifts instead. So you guys can pass these out, and if you don't like what I say, at least you get a nice graduation. Pass those around, and make sure that my father-in-law doesn't steal on you.
What is it, Gary?
Just some hats. So how many of you guys seen the movie Miracle about the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team beating Russia? Okay. If you haven't seen it, and most of the people on the back deck have lived it, and you guys are too young for this, but get a chance to see the movie. It's a really, really good movie. And I was watching it for the 75th time the other night, and the coach of the team was a very intense coach who wanted nothing more than to beat the Russians. His name was Herb Brooks. And right before the U.S. team went out to play the Russians, now the Russians were basically a professional hockey team who beat everybody in their path, and they demolished them. They had beaten the U.S. team in a prelim to the Olympics like 10-3, and the U.S. had basically no chance. But before they played them in what turned out to be the second to last game before the U.S. won the gold medal, he intensely looked in every one of the players' eyes, and he said, "Gentlemen, great moments are born from great opportunity. This is your time now." And he repeated it. He goes, "Great moments are born from great opportunity. This is your time now." So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm thinking about what to say to you guys tonight, and I'm like, I don't think there could be a more appropriate quote for each of you. You decided when you were old enough to know better, probably with some help from your parents, that you were going to put the work in to be the best you could in school. From 5 or 6 years old, you started to develop a work ethic. So what that did, you might not have realized at the time, it gave you a great opportunity to be here tonight, to be recognized. In a month from now, another great opportunity to walk with your fellow students in the top 20 of your class. And it also gave you a great opportunity to go to some of the best schools in the country that some kids will never have the opportunity to do. So just think about that for a second. Those great moments came out of an opportunity that you created for yourself, right? And so the theme of what I'm going to talk to you tonight is about opportunity, because I know how it impacted my life, and I've seen over the last 24 years of being in the business of the common denominator of success of people that are hungry, that have a passion and a drive. They know what they want, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get there. I'm an example of, actually 2 examples of one, what not to do, and then finally figured it out. When I was in high school and your age, I didn't care. I was like, if I get a B, I'm fine. You know, I didn't stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get the extra effort in and to try to get an A instead of if I got a B or a B+, we're all throwing a grade, And so it was one of these things where, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was lack of maturity or what, I didn't have that drive that you guys did to participate in extracurricular activities, to really be my best. And what happened was, it ended up perpetuating a apathy of where, when I was ready to go to school, I had limited choices. I was probably confined more, from a mental perspective, where I didn't want to leave the state, and I would always find reasons not to do things rather than to challenge myself to do it. And so what ended up happening, I was limited, ended up going to college in-state. Nothing wrong with in-state colleges, but what happened was I didn't have a driven goal. I didn't have I was always like, something will fall in my lap. I was playing Russian roulette kind of with my career and hoping I would hit the lottery, and it never happened. So what happened was I went through these 4 years of school, didn't really do anything to set myself up for any kind of career path. I get out of college with a piece of paper, but no job, right? And I'm sitting there in 1991, I'm like, what am I going to do? And I realized after 8 years of lethargy that, I didn't do enough to get where I needed to go, and I was a lost sheep. So for 2 years, 2 years, I didn't know. I ended up substitute teaching. I did odd jobs just to make some money, but I had no idea and a clear path of where I wanted to go. And so I finally had a very emotional conversation with my father. He said, look, you got to clear your mind. You got to find something that you enjoy. You might think it's a long shot to get there, but just find out what's going to drive you and go for it. So I said, okay, you know, and it hit me that I hit a dead end, and if I didn't do something that I really was going to be stuck and I was going to be a lost sheep. So the light switch flipped on finally, thank God, and I was able to start looking into master's programs. And I was told by my aunt, who had gotten me into this West Virginia University master's program for sports management, and thank goodness I did it. My life changed in a way that I never thought possible. I went from somebody who was a lost sheep to saying, I'm going to seek opportunity and I'm going to run as hard and as fast as I can to get it. And it's amazing, guys, what it was like this frontier just opened up. It was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed or that existed. And it ended up, we sent out a trifold little pamphlet out to every sports organization in the country. And I thought I was going to work for a minor league baseball team or whatever. I get a call from NBC in the winter break, right? And I see the caller ID said 30 Rockefeller Plaza, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And it was my future boss saying, hey, I see you live in New Jersey. That was how I got my job, because I lived in New Jersey, not because of anything of education or skill set. So I go in and interview with him, and it turns out he and I were born in the same hospital in Philadelphia. We had this instant connection, and he hired me on the spot. I didn't even need to know what I was talking about. And so from that point forward, when I got the internship, I said, I am going to do whatever it takes for them not to get rid of me. I would do whatever it took because I could see what was in front of me. This job that I ended up getting, I couldn't have written a better job description. It is, to this day, I can't believe that I'm doing it. I mean, I just got back from Korea. It was my 11th Olympic Games. I'm traveling all over the world. Here's a guy who's afraid to leave New Jersey. And so now, I've gotten the chance to take my son and my dad and my brother to the Super Bowl this year because NBC had the Super Bowl and the Eagles were in it. And, from Philadelphia, that was something we never thought we'd see in our lifetime. So just unbelievable opportunity opened up when I finally switched on the light to say, I got to keep moving forward. If you sit back and wait for it, it ain't coming. But if you keep doing like you're doing, like Don was reading off all of your extracurricular activities, that kind of stuff in college means even more. And we'll talk about that in a second. A couple other examples I want to give you of the 23 years of the common denominator of success that I've seen. There's a guy in the movie, you got to watch the movie, Michael Ruzioni. He was the captain of the team, right? He's a friend of mine because I'm in business now, and for 20 years, he and I have been friends, and every time he tells the story about how he made that Olympic team, that was all his sole focus was, I know that this is going to change my life if I make this team. I'm not the fastest skater. I'm not the best shot. And he kind of got into the tryout period, and he knew that his best quality was his leadership. So he was an unbelievable leader. He would rally the troops. He would get these guys working as hard as they could, and you'll see it in the movie. And he almost got cut like 4 or 5 times. He almost didn't make the team. He ends up coming off the bench with like 9 minutes to go in the game that they played Russia, takes a wrist shot, scores the winning goal to beat Russia, which is the greatest moment in the history of American sports, and it still is today. He gets tears in his eyes telling the story about how I don't know what my life would be if I hadn't have taken that leap and said, I'm doing everything I can to make this team. And you could just see the fire and passion in his eyes. And what it did, it changed his life, because he wasn't going to go play in the pros. He was a marginal skill player, and he said, look, if that puck was 2 inches to the right, I'd be painting bridges. That's what he jokes around and says. But then he goes on to become a motivational speaker. His whole life has been spent going around speaking to corporations about that moment, the whole journey that he took to make that team. So it's just, again, it's that common denominator, and you can see the trait and the fire in those people's eyes of the people that want to succeed. And Mike was an unbelievable example of that. And I do hope you get to see the film, because you'll see his character really comes out and is played very well in the film. Another crazy example, and I'll be wrapping up in like 5 minutes. I was at NBC for 2 years. I'm walking, in 1997, I'm walking through Penn Station going on my way to work. I've got an NBC bag. This woman comes up out of nowhere, a young woman, a little bit older than you guys, and she goes, "Do you work for NBC?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You have to help me. I always wanted to be on the Today Show." I'm like, "Yeah, and I want to cure cancer." And it was just like, she was like, "I'm going to acting school, but can you help me?" So I said, "Look, send me your resume. I don't know if I can, but I'll try." So I ended up getting her into the PAGE program, which is a paid internship at NBC, and she ended up getting hired by the Today Show. So she ended up, for years, she would see me and hug me, and she's like, "I can't thank you enough." She's like, "I haven't been on air yet, but this is an unbelievable opportunity that I never thought I'd have." She ends up booking guests on the Today Show, and she would spend time with them before they went on the air in the green room. So the executive producer, when online video started becoming more popular, said, "Why don't you interview these guests before you go, before they come on the air?" So she goes and interviews all the guests, puts it up online on todayshow.com, and everybody was like, "Wow, she's got some talent." So one day I had to go down to the Today Show studios, I guess it was 2007, and she comes around the corner, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's fate you're here today." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I'm going on the air in 10 minutes. And she became Hoda and Kathy Lee's social media correspondent, right? So here, and now she's a host on Good Morning America and The View. She wrote a book about and the first chapter of the book is her coming up to me, a perfect stranger, asking the question, "Can you help me?" Now, and she said the same thing as Ruzioni. "I don't know what my life would have been like had I not taken that step to do that. Like, if I didn't come up to you, a perfect stranger, and ask you for help, I might not have ever had this opportunity." So it's just to reinforce, keep moving forward. You guys have established an elite head start amongst all of your peers, okay? There's, you don't have to boast about it, but that's the truth. Your hard work, you deserve that. But you gotta keep moving forward. If you sit back and wait for it to come, it's not gonna come. I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, it is not gonna come. And you say, "Okay, Gary, well, that's good advice. How do I keep moving forward? How do I create opportunity?" It's by getting practical experience. The academic stuff is great, okay? Don't get me wrong. But as somebody who hires people and talks to people, the first thing we look at is what have you done to prepare yourself for the field for which you're going into. Mel, if you're going into sports, in sports broadcasting, if you don't take my card tonight, I'm coming to your house. Because seriously, you've got to be able to create this web and a network of, "Hey, I need your counsel. What do you think about this course? Or where do you think I should go here for an internship?" And the word internship and apprenticeship is huge. Huge. Because you have to be able to differentiate yourself from the competition. It's not all seashells and balloons, guys. It's a very competitive field out there. And you've given yourself a head start, but you've got to stay ahead of the field. And the way you do that is to go out and continue to do the extracurricular stuff. I don't care if you want to get in, go work for the radio station, work for the television station, work for the newspaper. If you want to go in the law, figure out a way to do paralegal, figure out a way to be a legal assistant. You got to be able to draw upon those experiences, because the first thing an employer is going to ask you is like, "Okay, I see you got a 4.0, but what did you do to prepare yourself for And then if you're sitting there going, "Well, I did well in class," and can't draw upon any of the experiences that you have with the internship, it's going to be difficult. So that's the one thing that I strongly encourage is keep moving forward. You've got a wonderful, wonderful head start, and we are so proud of you. And think of it this way: we always talk when I talk to college level kids and people that we're interviewing. You're at a stage right now where your career is like building a house. You've started to set the basement foundation, right? You can't build a good house unless you have a solid foundation. So you're laying the concrete, slab, but then brick by brick, you got to build the basement, right? So think about that every year. For the next 4 years is building those bricks up. So you've got the solid foundation. You start your career. You start framing the house, right? And then 10 years from now, you're going to be so successful. You're going to be building additions on that house, and you're going to be living in a mansion. That's what you got to think about. You know you can do it because you're more than capable of doing it. You've done such a great job with your schoolwork to this point, and the whole community supports you. I'm getting very old now, so I'm at this stage where I feel like I need to pay it forward. So I'm going to leave my card on the podium, right? You don't have to call, you don't have to email, but it could be tomorrow, it could be 4 years from now, it could be 8 years from now. Reach out. I might not have all the answers, but if I don't, I'll try to find them, and we will do everything we can to help you. I'll leave you with this quote. Don't forget it. Great moments come from great opportunity. Don't be afraid to be great, because you already are, and we're here to support you, and we know you're going to do wonderfully. So thank you for the time.